Here we go, Bulls fans. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and today's show is presented by Prize Picks. Now, coming up on today's show, we got a lot to talk about with NBA free agency starting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Apparently, the Bulls could be all in on former Miami Heat guard and unrestricted free agent Norman Powell. And then also a lot of buzz about a potential Portland Trail Blazers Jaylen Brown trade with the Boston Celtics. Well, could the Bulls help facilitate that trade and take on Jerami Grant's contract and possibly get some future draft capital? We'll talk about it all on today's show. But if you guys could, hit that subscribe button today because we will be live for free agency an hour before it opens tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys want to come hang out, our draft streams were a ton of fun. So if you guys want to help us, grow this channel and hang out during NBA free agency, we will be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So go down there, hit that subscribe button today. But also, if the Bulls sign anybody, make any trades, we will have a video for you guys ASAP. We have been posting daily videos here on the channel for about 10 weeks straight so far. So if you guys want daily Bulls content, we got it covered. Hit that subscribe button today. All right, let's kick it to Michael Scotto here, who was talking about the Bulls' plans here in free agency. And he was talking about Norman Powell. And he says the Chicago Bulls are among the teams expected to have interest in Powell as free agency nears, league sources told HoopsHype. The 33-year-old guard is a career 39.6% three-point shooter. Now, we have been discussing free agency a lot here on the channel, and I've been making the case that I think the Bulls should be trying to use all their free agency money of $33 million, second most in the NBA, to really take on bad contracts to help facilitate some blockbuster trades across the league. However, I say all that to say this. Norman Powell is the one guy I would want the Bulls to pay during free agency. I think there would be a lot of value bringing a veteran guard who has played for some good organizations in the past, specifically with the Heat this past season, and also help space the floor. We obviously know shooting is a dire need on this Bulls roster. So Norman Powell, he would bring that veteran experience. He would bring the floor spacing that this Bulls roster desperately needs. And out of all the free agents, Norman Powell would be my number one guy. Now, Norman Powell over the last couple of years, he's been awesome. Specifically the year in 2024-25 with the Los Angeles Clippers. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Almost put up 22 a night, 2.1 assists per game, shot very, very efficiently from the field, but specifically what he did from beyond the arc, taking over 7 3-pointers a game, shooting almost 42% from downtown, and even in 2025-26, this past season with the Heat, still very, very good at shooting the basketball. 38% from downtown, taking still more than 7 3-pointers attempted per game. Now, the flexibility that I think Norman Powell would offer the Chicago Bulls is I would anticipate he would come in and be the day one starter for Chicago. Now, I think if you're rolling out a lineup with Josh Giddey, Norman Powell, Modest Buzelis, Caleb Wilson, Nick Claxton, obviously it's not a team that can go out there and contend in the Eastern Conference. This is a team that would be pretty damn good defensively with your front court of Buzelis, Wilson, and Claxton. You got a guy who can protect the rim. You got some very switchable wings in Buzelis and Wilson who can really up your point of attack defense on the perimeter. And then you get a shooter in Norman Powell to help space the floor. And then Josh Giddey just helps set the table for these younger guys like Buzelis and Wilson. I honestly think Powell and Giddey would be perfect for Buzelis and Wilson because you'd have a floor spacer and then Giddey to get these guys open looks in transition. And also Nick Claxton, he'll probably get a couple of easy looks with Josh Giddey attacking off the pick and roll. Now you may be looking at this and be saying, what about Dalen Swain? What would the Bulls' plans be for him? Well, I think it would just be him coming off the bench. And that should be, honestly, the Bulls' plan is to slowly develop a guy like Swain. Because Swain, as big as I am on him and him developing at the next level, I think he could legitimately be like a Jimmy Butler type of player for this Bulls organization. But I would like him coming off the bench, steps in there, plays 20, 25 minutes a game, really focuses on the defensive side of the floor first in his short career or in the early parts of his career. But then if he can develop that three-point shot, year after year after year, like that's where he could take the game to the next level. Because even Jimmy Butler shot 18% from downtown during his rookie season. I'm not saying Swain's going to be an 18% three-point shooter right away, but if he's shooting, 25, 30%, shouldn't hit the panic button whatsoever. I just think Powell would allow the Bulls to, slow play this a little bit, get some more veterans, a guy who can help Swain, a guy that can help some of these young guys on the team. So Norman Powell, out of all the guys that I would really be excited for the Bulls to sign during free agency, Norman Powell would have to be number one. But you guys make the call for me. Should the Chicago Bulls sign Norman Powell when free agency opens here tomorrow night? Give me an S for sign. Give me a P for pass. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. I will discuss that Jerami Grant trade idea here in just a second, but I do want to give a massive shout out to our good friends at Prize Picks. If you guys plug in that promo code HMA, we'll hook you guys up with $50 instantly on lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. All you have to do is pick more or less on a few players' stats and lock in your lineup. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, Minnesota, New York, and of course, Illinois. And it makes watching my favorite sporting events that much more enjoyable as I follow a lineup throughout the entire game. Now, if you guys want to get a little action on the World Cup, Japan versus Brazil, going to be starting here in a couple of hours. Well, here's the lineup we're rolling with, so you guys can fade those picks, or you guys can ride with those picks. Just make sure you guys do so at Prize Picks. Now, Prize Picks also has a feature that allows you to follow your friends and others on the app like you would on any other social media platform. You guys can follow me on the app. The handle is at PatSieps, PATSIEPS, to see all my lineups there. But sign up for Prize Picks with that promo code HMA, and we'll hook you guys up with $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Hit that link down below in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, let's talk about a blockbuster trade in the NBA that really doesn't involve the Chicago Bulls, but they could get involved and potentially get some future draft capital. So there's obviously a lot of buzz on the Boston Celtics trying to move off Jaylen Brown. He wants his own team. He wants to be the guy, and it seems like both sides, like even the Celtics front office, like Jason Tatum, it almost seems like they want Jaylen Brown to go get his own team and see what he can do, because last year in the Celtics, it felt like they were going to have a throwaway year, but Jaylen Brown led that team to the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and he's proved himself as being a legit top 13 player in the NBA. Well, Portland has some interest in Jaylen Brown, and maybe the Bulls could be a team that could just be that third team that helps connect this trade, and maybe the Bulls could get a future draft pick out of it. But this is what Andrew Hanlon had to say on the Bulls potentially acquiring Jerami Grant, saying acquiring Grant's contract to close that gap and add picks would be a wise way to do it. And the Bulls could simply absorb the 32-year-old's money, just like they did Nick Claxton's. They wouldn't need to move picks or players in any iteration of the deal. And that's also key. Like at the Bulls, and I would highly anticipate the Bulls making one of these trades this offseason. Like Bryson Graham's talked about this in both of his press conferences. Even when he hopped on 670 to score, he was talking about taking on bad deals to acquire future draft capital. And Jerami Grant, he's on a bad contract right now. I think him at $20 million per year is probably where you would want Jerami Grant at when he's on your basketball team, but he's on $34 million for this upcoming year, and then he's got a $36 million player option in 27-28. So I'm assuming Portland would love to move off his contract. And also, I don't think Boston, a team was trying to contend in the Eastern Conference. Can you build a team that can contend with Jerami Grant making that type of money? Well, that's where the Bulls come in, because if they do send Jaylen Brown to Portland, Boston would probably get a heavy picks package in return, but then maybe they want to send Jerami Grant to the Bulls, and maybe Chicago could get a pick from Boston or potentially another pick from the Portland Trailblazers. Now, Jerami Grant, he's a solid NBA player. Like, he is, obviously a lot of meat left on the bone. I think fans can get a little, frustrated with Jerami Grant in Portland over the last couple of years. Not the same defensive player he was back in his heyday, but still a big wing who can put the ball on his deck and just be a consistent offensive player for a basketball team. You can throw him the ball late in the shot clock. He can go get to his pull-up jumper pretty consistently. But he's also dealt with some injuries over the last couple of years. Only played in over 60 games once over the last 4 seasons. Now he's coming back in 2022-23. So he hasn't been fully available, which is why I think the Bulls could be a team that could take on his contract and help facilitate this trade. And if you're Chicago, flatly, if you can get a first-round pick, even if it's heavily protected for Jerami Grant's contract, I think you have to do it, because that should be the Bulls' number one goal here. And even if it's not, like, we're seeing what the Charlotte Hornets are doing right now. Charlotte Hornets are acquiring a bunch of future draft capital. I think people are viewing that and saying, like, oh, well, they're trying to use those draft picks to draft players down the line. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think Charlotte is loading up on draft capital right now in this rebuild they've been going through to potentially package a bunch of those picks to go trade for the next superstar that could be available. That's what the Bulls should be trying to do. If you can take on Grant's contract, get another first-round pick, you wouldn't be using that first-round pick to draft a player. I think the Bulls would be using that pick to just help them giving more ammunition in the trade market in the future. Now, Portland, luckily for the Bulls, they have a bunch of first-round draft capital. They have control over all of their first-round picks, but still, because of the Damian Lillard trade, they have 2 swaps in 28 and 2030. This is where the Bulls should be trying to strike. If you could get a swap from the Milwaukee Bucks in 2028, that could potentially be a top 5 pick. So if you could somehow get Jerami Grant in that 2028 first-round pick swap, that's probably ideal. I doubt Portland would want to give that up. just to move off Jerami Grant's contract. But if that's what it takes to acquire a top 15 player in the league in Jaylen Brown, I don't think that would hold up the trade. Obviously, wouldn't prefer it, but I still think one of those could be on the table, or maybe it's just a Magic pick that would probably end up being in the 20s anyways in 28. They have that full rights to that pick, no protections on there, or it could just be one of their own first-round picks. So I'll be very much interested in a Jerami Grant trade for Chicago. Now, got to close it out. Some sad news. It's a sad day. It's a bad day. Yuki Kawamura will not be playing with the Chicago Bulls during Summer League. Yuki has signed with the Indiana Pacers. Yuki, it was a hell of a run in Chicago. He was pretty damn entertaining as the Bulls point guard. During spots of the season, I mean, the 5'6" point guard out of Japan, like he was awesome to watch. And especially in the Summer League, I was actually kind of excited to see Yuki go out there, set the table for, Caleb Wilson, Dalen Swain. So TBD on who the Bulls point guard will be in Summer League. I thought Yuki was a good option, though, because he is a very good passer. He gets the defense in rotation a lot. So I, was very much excited to watch him play for the Bulls, but he's going to be playing with the Indiana Pacers. But we will be live for all Summer League games. They play the Wizards, Jazz, and Grizzlies, so you'll see Caleb Wilson go against, the 3 picks that were ahead of them, so very, very excited for that. But you guys let me know on Jerami Grant. Should the Bulls try to trade for Jerami Grant? Give me a Y for yes, give me an N for no. I think you should. Obviously need some draft capital. Like, you shouldn't just be taking on his contract just to take it on. I think if you could even get like a couple of second-round picks, I'd have some interest in that. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Would you do it? Trade for Jerami Grant, Y for yes, N for no. And we'll see you guys later today with another video, tomorrow morning, and then live for free agency. So make sure you guys tune in then. But catch you guys next time. As always, go Bulls.